Right guys, it's Dave at All Important Reviews, and I've got with me another Pagani design little gem. I picked this up a couple of weeks ago. I've been wearing it every day since. This is a Pagani design PD-1644 Chronograph stainless steel sports watch. Now obviously this is a homage to the Rolex Daytona. Now the real Rolex Daytona in this style is over 20 grand, 20,000 GBP, which I will never be purchasing because I think that's completely well too expensive, and obviously I could never afford that. However, this homage is straight up brilliant. I can't actually believe that for the price that I paid for it and the price you can get now on AliExpress with this sale, although I think the sale is now over, but there's discounts all the time running on that website. And I think I picked it up for about £60 with all the discounts. Let's get an overview. So it's 40mm nominal, so they state that it's 40mm. I think it's a little bit smaller than that if you measure the dial diameter, the bezel diameter. I think it's more like 39mm. Obviously, stainless steel bracelet, ceramic bezel, gorgeous ceramic bezel, black dial with the 3 stainless sub-dials. Loomed markers, although the markers on this watch are more difficult to see than the other ones, as they are on the real Daytona. Stainless steel bracelet, 3-link bracelet with the polished centers. Works fine. And this actually uses a Seiko, a Japanese Seiko VK63 Mecaquartz. So what that means is that there's a battery in here that powers the main engine of the watch. So it's a quartz watch for the main hands, but the chronograph dials are run on a mechanical movement, but you're getting fantastic accuracy of around, I would think, give or take 20 seconds per month, compared to most automatics that are, 15-30 seconds per day. So obviously any quartz watch has fantastic accuracy, and these Mecaquartz also have fantastic accuracy. Now, I love the size. I'll just get so. Yeah. It's just less than 40. Thickness, just less than 11. Thickness of the links, I think they're 3mm. Yeah, 3mm. The size, 40mm on my just over 7-inch wrist is perfect. So I'm really glad they've kept it true to the real Daytona size, because that is around 40mm. The weight, it's only around 134 grams. It's noticeably lighter than the other Pagani design watches that I've used, like the 1639, the Submariner homage, and the Yachtmaster homage. It's significantly lighter than that. It fits really well on the wrist, as you'll see shortly. So the size and the proportions and the weight are perfect. They're brilliant. It's quite a thin watch, really. The 11mm would easily fit under a cuff for a shirt, and it does look both sporty and dressy. So I'd say you could wear it for pretty much any occasion, even though it is technically a sports watch. But the kind of the contrast with the black and the stainless, and it kind of does give it that more of a dressier look sometimes, I think. The bezel has obviously the tachymeter. It's a ceramic black bezel Beautiful bezel. I've checked it and I can't find any blemishes on that bezel. Obviously it doesn't move because of its design. It is a fixed bezel, but it's still a beautiful bezel. The dial is obviously a jet piano black. It's not sunburst. Where you've got your 3 little sub dials there. The markers are loomed, but as far as I'm aware, they're not brilliant. They're not going to be as good as what's on some of the other Pagani watches, because obviously it's a thinner kind of baton style markers. They're kind of like pointed at the end. So reading the time on this watch, you have to get used to it. I've got used to it a bit now after 2 weeks, but when I was first looking at it, I thought, wow, it is very difficult to see the time, and it is. At night time, it can be a lot more difficult, but generally, I've got used to it now, and in normal daylight, I can fairly easily tell the time. I mean, the dial is pretty cluttered, but I think it is appropriate for this watch because the real Daytona is cluttered. But it works for this model with your 2 chronograph functions. You've also got a little date window there. I've checked the buttons, both of them work fine. And it does have, as far as I'm aware, a synthetic sapphire crystal. So it's going to be very difficult to scratch, and it's going to be very difficult to scratch the ceramic insert. I love ceramic bezels because I hate the look of scratched up watches, even though all of my bracelets get scratched up, but that can't really be helped. But bezels, I despise bezels that have them aluminium inserts that scratch up very quickly. This one will basically never scratch. You can crack it, but it's much more difficult to scratch. The bracelet is fantastic. It's the oyster style, so it's a 3-link with a polished inners. I'll just put it on me. Let's put it on me now. Fits like a glove. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I prefer the all black version to the white dial version, the Panda. However, I may actually get the Panda anyway with it being so cheap. I may pick it up in a few weeks' time. But fits very well. I have to say, it doesn't fit as well, even though it's thinner. It doesn't fit as well as the 1651, or it fits better than the 1639. But their Submariner Homage one as well, it doesn't fit quite as well as that. It's something to do with, because I wear the watches very low down my wrist, very close to the hand. Obviously some watches can dig in sometimes, so when you've got these push buttons and this and the crown sticking out so far, it can kind of dig in sometimes a little bit, but kind of got used to it now and it's not too bad. But it doesn't, the other ones do not dig in really. But this one, it does a tiny bit, but it's still a really comfortable fit. And the bracelet, again, it's a standard Pagani bracelet that they use, which is obviously, they get no points for design because they've essentially copied or made a very close alternative to the Rolex one. It's all solid end links, all solid links with their standard clasp. The clasp is functional. It's not as refined as other ones, but it's unbelievably comfortable. And that is ultimately what I care about the most. Yes, it is true that San Martin do, you know, and the real, you know, the Rolex one is a bit more heavier duty, if you will, but is it as comfortable? And I'm not sure if they are. And I think this one is absolute 100% for comfort, which is why I love it so much, even if it's not completely refined. You know, the tolerances are not amazing on this clasp and the safety latch. And another criticism, the way that you have to size this bracelet is pretty crap. There's a spring bar in here that you've got to fiddle about with and move it on the three micro adjusts. It's not ideal, but ultimately, once you've adjusted it, that's it, then you can leave it alone. But the water resist on this watch, I've seen it stated as 30 meter from Pagani, and then off another watch store I've seen it stated as 100. So I don't actually know which is correct, obviously. My guess is because it's the chronograph version, there's more chances of water seeping in. I would say do not swim with this watch. That would be my opinion. However, Pagani Design may have a different opinion, but I would not suggest swimming with this watch. I would use the other ones that have 100 meter water resist to do that. Ultimately, do you really care if you damage a 50 quid watch or a 60 quid watch? Maybe you would, but maybe you can try. I mean, I know there's some people that have commented and it's been mixed reviews. Some people have swam and it's been fine. Others have, a guy's gone diving with it and it did fail, but I don't know. I think he only went about 10 meters below the surface. But one of the reasons why I bought this watch was because I wanted it as a beta watch, because I'm sick of these automatics. If you want to change your watches a lot, I'm sick of changing the time constantly. It does become annoying. Ultimately, as I've mentioned in other videos, I'm not a big automatic person. I don't really care about whether it's automatic or not. I know to some people do. I mean, maybe if it was a Rolex and it was, you know, give or take 2 seconds a day. But when it's so inaccurate, I'm not talking about this watch, but I'm talking about the other Paganis. When they're so inaccurate, you know, losing 30 seconds a minute or so a day, you know, it becomes annoying constantly changing the time. So I do wish they give an option to just put a Mecaquartz in there or a normal quartz on a battery. I mean, you'll probably get around 3 years out of this battery, and that's fine for me. I don't care about having this, oh, it's got an ETA movement, it's got this, it's got all that. I'm not bothered about that when they're all ultimately crappy power reserves and crappy accuracy. That has to be said. But this one has a Mecaquartz, so I did get it for that. And I wanted this Daytona style look, if you will, that this one obviously looks like. And for what you pay, if you're thinking about what you're getting right now, for what is ultimately the real version of this, if you will, the one that inspired it, is worth 20 grand, if not more. It's kind of frightening that you can pay 58 quid and get something that is, you know, forgetting the movement, the watch is very, very close to what you actually, I mean, other than the water resist and the inaccuracy, even the bracelet is very close. I mean, yeah, the clasp, you could argue, is not as good because it's not as refined, but it is as comfortable. There is no question of that, because I've used, I have friends, I've got a friend who does work in a jeweller's, and he's always wore Rolex watches, and I've tried on real Daytona, I've tried on a real Datejust, I've tried on a real Submariner, and I've used them all, and I can say that these bracelets are as comfortable, if not more comfortable, than the real Rolex ones, which is quite an achievement, really. So I'm going to say this watch, I'm going to give it a massive thumbs up. I am going to pick up the white dial. I wish they did a completely white and stainless steel one with a stainless steel bezel, because that is my personal favourite of the Daytona range, the Daytona style, if you get them, of the real Rolex. I would prefer that look to just an all black one or a white and black. That would be stunning if they actually did that, and I think Pagani should do that. But yeah, it's been Dave at All Important Reviews. There's going to be an AliExpress affiliate link below. If you purchase it, I make a tiny bit of commission and it doesn't cost you any more. Again, brilliant watch. Another cracker from Pagani. Have a great weekend, guys. Cheers.